All right,
Hi,
good morning,
everyone.
everybody. Looks like we've got a good group. Thank you guys for joining. Before we get started, I'm going to let Tiff do the audio-visual check.
Hi, everyone. This is Tiffany Kinney with the Home Based Support. I was with them. Home Based Professional Learning Team. Welcome to today's EOI process webinar. On your screen, Justin is sharing his screen right now. You should see a bit.ly to today's presentation. This is so you can refer back to this at a later time. We are also recording this webinar, and so it will be posted to the NCSIS website. Give us a few days for that. But before we get started, we are waiting for quite a few more to join us. Let's do a couple of sound checks. So if you can hear me, and you could hear Justin just a few moments ago, if you could please raise your hand. All right, I see the hands going up. Thank you so much. And then also, I just put those hands down. If you could also raise your hand if you see the EOI process screen that Justin has showing right now. All right, wonderful. Thank you so much. So again, on your screen, you'll see the bit.ly that will take you to today's slides. You also see in your chat, I have put that bit.ly there, the EOI process 2019. You also have a place where you can enter questions in. So I, Tiffany, will be monitoring these questions along with Justin as he has some pauses throughout his presentation. So you can enter those questions and send those to us, and we'll get to those as soon as possible. Also today, we do have this webinar. We will have 2 additional follow-up webinars, like a Q&A, short Q&A webinar. We are working on those dates, but they will be in June. So those are being worked on, and we'll talk about those a little later. So without further ado, go ahead, Justin.
All right, thank you. So the bit.ly for today's presentation is right there on the first screen, and it's also shared in the chat. If we get further into it, just look back at the chat there if you want to get access to the presentation that we're sharing. All right, we'll jump in. The first thing, we've been sharing this periodically in our newsletters and during other presentations, but access, you'll lose your access on June 28th at 5 p.m. By that point, actually by this Friday, we need to know who the EOI contacts are going to be, and that's listed at the bottom of this page. But on the 28th at 5 p.m., systems are going to come down. By then, you should have already done your state reporting, and we're going to get into these things here shortly, all your pre-EOI validation. And then we have been working with Power School to make sure we can start the process earlier on Saturday, the 29th. So I think last year it was 8:30, 9 o'clock before we were able to begin. This year we're shooting for 7 a.m. So we're hoping that you guys have somebody who will be available by 7 a.m. or beginning at 7 a.m. on that Saturday. Okay, so the EOI contact page, this is at the LEA level, and we need all districts to have 2 people in here by this Friday. We're going to start pulling this information. And so this is one of the places where I wanted to pause and see if we have any new folks with us who are going to be processing EOI for the first time this year. If we do, have we put the hands down from earlier, Tiff?
Yes, yes. If you can raise your hand if you are new this year to the EOI process. So we'll give you just a few seconds so we can just poll and see who is new. So we have
about a dozen.
Yes. All right.
Okay. So this is particularly important for you guys who just put your hands up, because the information is the information that's on this page is from what was entered last year or the year before. So it stays in there once you put it in. We're not going to clear this out. So for you guys, you probably want to go to this page and just make sure that your information is in there and not someone that's left us. This is what we're going to be using if we see issues, or if we see that no one has processed EOI on the morning of the 29th. These are the people we're going to be looking to get in touch with. If you're the one that's going to be processing EOI on Saturday, your name needs to be the primary contact. The number that you put in here needs to be like a cell number, especially if you're not going to be in your office at work. If you're doing this from home, then we'll need a home phone or a cell phone number. And then if you will be in the office, we need for you to put, where was Walt asking us to put the extension? You remember, Tiffany?
Let's see.
I think it was in the title. Somewhere in here we do need the extension, your office extension. Don't just put the county office phone number, because then we still won't be able to get through to your line. So give us two different people. Charter schools, we've seen that a lot of times it's the same person for both, but we do ask, even if you are the only contact, that we have some other number, just in case if we can't get in touch with you, who can we get in touch with to get this process rolling? So if you could be sure to put two different contacts and not copy the same one over to the secondary contact. So we will be pulling that after this Friday, if all districts can just make sure that everything there is up to date. Any questions on that?
Yes, so make sure you put the extension in the title line.
Yeah, okay. All right. Also for EOI folks, you want to disable your teacher access for admins prior to the Friday the 28th. And all of this is in the EOI guide that I believe Tiffany is going to share a link to later.
Yep.
Support center reminders. These are carried over from last year, but for folks that's been doing this a while, just a reminder that we're not assigning DPI contacts to each LEA and charter. We're no longer going to have districts create the tickets to track EOI. Rather, we're going to ask that you put in a ServiceNow ticket if you run into problems. And we're also going to have a webinar up and running the whole morning of Saturday the 29th, so that you can log in. And I mean, there'll be probably a dozen of us on site. And this year we'll also have some Power School folks, since support is going to Power School. We've asked them to join us so that they can be familiar with this process come next year. So there'll be plenty of folks on the line to assist. It'll just be a running webinar. Like I said, if you have issues, just log into the webinar if you need to. It's not going to be something you're required to join. A communication will go out, so you'll be checking your emails on the morning of the 29th. We're going to send an email out to all of the contacts once we hear from Power School that we're ready to push the button. So that's where you're going to get your communication from us. So be watching your email. And then once we're finished with the EOI and the Power School 12 upgrade, you'll receive an email letting you know that your users can get back in the system. And we're looking for that to be around July 7th or 8th. So for some of you, that'll be a long vacation. All right, just a reminder, the DPI, FTE school, and program schools have to have years and terms set back to 2000. And I do believe this has been done, because we checked last year just to make sure everybody had this done. But if not, just a reminder to make sure that is complete. Okay, calendar adjustments. If you did have to make changes to your calendar, a reminder that you have to update student enrollment information as well. There's a process for that, and this link will take you to that process. The coordinators are going to be responsible for, let me see if I can open this, steps 1 through 7. Can you see my screen, Tiff?
Yes, I can see it. Yep, calendar change process.
Yep. So once you get through step 7, the rest you would ask home-based support to do by putting in a ServiceNow ticket, unless you have DDA access and are able to do that yourself. Okay, pre-EOI, and these are the items. No, I'm sorry, the next page is where the items from the guide are. But these are the items. A lot of you have already started doing this, but you want to set up your 1920 years and terms, your next school indicator for all students, the next year grade level. This is all on the scheduling setup page. You want to set your FTEs for all schools, including the DPI FTE school and any program schools. We're asking that you make sure you run all of your state reports, including PMR9. Run those and submit those prior to Friday the 28th. And then print any necessary reports, such as report cards, transcripts, print your PMR reports. One thing I've been asked to tell you all to hold off on, because we run into problems every year when every district in the state starts exporting their stored grades at the same time. And it happens every single year that we start seeing outages because we're bogging the system down. So we are, actually Lorenzo's going to be on site next week, and we were going to talk to him about a way we can pull this for you so that we don't have everybody in the state trying to pull those stored grades all at once. So just wait on guidance from us before you begin that process or begin attempting to run that. Another thing we're looking for is to make sure that all the LEAs and charters that are using the North Carolina transcripts have created the 10-point alpha scale or reverted back to that for next year. So I have a meeting tomorrow to show what that process is going to look like as far as pulling the data to make sure everything is clean and that everybody has this in place and attached to the new sections and courses. You're no longer required to enter the incompletes when you're waiting on final exam grades. The grade 9 entry date needs to be populated for your 9th graders once you know. This is something that this should be moved to post EOI. I don't know why it's on the pre-EOI screen, but you want to make sure that that field is populated after those students have started 9th grade. This is something, the next one is something Roz wanted me to point out and make sure to share with y'all. We do not want you pre-registering students in your LEA if they're active in another LEA right now, in another instant. So even with PreK students moving to kindergarten, we're seeing a lot of pre-registered kindergartens who are active as PK in another instant. And so we don't want you doing that. So just wait until after EOI to register those students, especially with students kindergarten and up. This we found, well, I don't know who uses SchoolNet, what grade levels, but this does impact SchoolNet if you pre-register students who are active in another LEA currently. So we do not want you doing that. The next item is something we want to get you in the habit of, but starting this year, we've been working with CFNC to kind of determine at what point we start sending transcripts. To date, it triggers as soon as you populate that diploma granted field. So as soon as you put a date in there, that triggers, CFNC assumes that that student is finished, and it pulls the transcript and starts sending it. And what we've seen is we're delivering incomplete transcripts to the colleges because there are grades that are missing or changes that are then made after the fact. And so for this year, we've asked CFNC to not begin pulling transcripts until the week of the 24th of June. And that may be July. No, that's June. But moving forward, we're going to continue working on these requirements. But we just want to get you all in the habit of not even populating the diploma granted field until you have verified that everything is entered in the historical grades, stored correctly, and then you're ready to release that transcript. Roz did want me to ask, and we can do this by putting hands up. Does anyone have a reason that transcripts should be released prior to June 24th this year. If you would put your hand up if you do. Looks like we have 5 or 6. Okay, for those of you who put your hand up, if you wouldn't mind, send us in the chat, or you can put it as a question. Tiffany can call those out. What the reason would be that you need.
Can you repeat that question, please, Justin?
If anybody has a reason that we would need to release some transcripts prior to June 24th, as far as the CFNC transfer. I realize we're going to have early colleges that in order to graduate the college, they'll need that populated, but usually that's done locally and not via the transfer. Anything coming through, Tiffany?
Yes, I've got some stuff that, yeah, we had a couple people comment, yeah, they're coming through. Needs final transcript for community college summer classes. Montgomery County Schools also has summer school, so we need to go back and look at these, the comments coming in.
Okay. And we can follow up with those individuals. But for the community colleges, it shouldn't be an issue, but I'll check. The last thing, I didn't want to get bogged down in this webinar on the pre-K registration enrollments. Rosalind asked me to share with you all that there is a webinar that's being scheduled, and I'll get that out to you, but as of right now, we do not have more information. Rosalind did say that we were going to have to set up new schools, but we don't have any guidance as of today on how that needs to be done. So just know that as soon as that's out, as soon as the webinar is scheduled, I'll make sure that gets put out in the newsletter, and I'll also send it out to the coordinators. Okay, so your pre-EOI validations, validate school enrollment, section enrollments, data validation testing. All of this is in the EOI guide. And Tiffany, if we could put a link in there to that.
I did. The EOI guide is in the chat now.
When I went to the NCSIS site and was looking, I just did a quick site search, and I couldn't find the 2018 version, but that's the one you want to be sure you're looking at. There's a 2016 version out there that's outdated, so be sure you're using the one that Tiffany provided in the chat.
And if you're going to the NCSIS site, it will be under the Power School documents end of year. And Justin, you were saying there's no really changes from last year to this year other than the calendar.
Right. The document really didn't need to be updated other than last year we asked everybody to make sure their calendars were set up for the next year because of ECAT. But I have talked to Rosalind, and she has assured me that nothing needs to be done for ECAT as of right now. So we're going to leave that part in the EOI guide. And if you do set your calendar up, it's okay, but you're not required to prior to EOI. So for the new folks who raised their hands earlier, after you do the pre-EOI tasks, set up your, next school, promote everyone, years and terms, you're going to run these validations from the process EOI page, and it'll tell you what to go back and clean up. And this is something you can do now, but you are going to have to go back on the 28th just to make sure no other changes have been made, because you will have changes, I'm sure. You're going to be pulling in students to graduate from other schools who have not processed went through the task list. So you'll be cleaning up from now to that Friday. And then, you know, if you're cleaning up now, then the items you'll be cleaning up later are likely going to be students who have come in with some things that need to be updated. During the EOI process, these are the codes that will be populated for the exit codes and entry codes for the new school year. If you have students who need to be retained and you know that prior to June 28th, then you'll just want to go in and set that next grade level to the current grade level so that it will retain those students during the process. And on the morning of when we do process EOI, if you are successful, you'll get the success message. Let's see. I'm looking for, in the logs, you'll be able to tell, and this is in the EOI guide as well. It'll show you as it's processing through the students, and you will, there's an image of one that did not process completely. So as of right now, the process EOI link has been hidden. LEAs are not going to be able to process that. We did have an LEA who accidentally processed it a couple of weeks ago, but we've removed that link. But on the morning of, you'll see the link to process the EOI on that Saturday. Tiffany, you say Walt's coming to join us?
Yes, he was working on a critical issue, and he will be joining us shortly. Yes.
Okay. All right, so after your EOI is processed, there is a post-EOI checklist that's in the EOI guide that Tiffany shared of items you just need to go through and check for. And that is just to make sure the years and terms did copy over and are set up correctly. Make sure your staff's still in there, your students have their historical grades and are in the correct grade level. Your graduated students, make sure they've moved over to the graduated student school. And then we do need to update that SQL reports because now we're in SQL reports 5. So you'll want to verify that all your reports are still there. Start and end times. I'm not sure on the clear scheduling setup page. That's something Jackie had added. Do we know why that was required, Tiffany?
I'm unsure. It's been there for a while though.
Okay. But the start and end times for the new folks, there's a page where you go in and you put the start and end times for each school, and that does need to be entered for the following school year. And that is just the earliest a school would start and the latest it would end. Questions to that point?
If start and end times change after running EOI, can we change it post EOI?
I'll have to check on the due date of the report, but I do know that up until the date the report is due, you can make changes. But if your start and end times change after that report is submitted, there's no need to make the changes. And usually that's what we find. Mm-hmm. Usually it needs to be changed come winter when we've missed so many days we have to add to the school day. But at that point, we've already collected the data for the current year, so there's no need in changing it. There is talk of having this report due twice a year. So if that's the case, then you'll have a spring version and a fall version, and you will be able to update it twice a year at least.
So Justin, can you offer some clarification? Because there seems to be some confusion. Are you saying we can change the start and end time after EOI?
Yeah, let me pause my screen for a second. I'll look and see when that's due for sure.
So Justin's checking on that about the start and end times. Those of you that may have just joined us, so we are still here. And Justin, if you're having a hard time finding it, we'll come back to it.
Okay, no, I found it. So that is still due September 15th. So after EOI, you can make changes to your start and end times up until that point, and that would be no big deal.
Up until September 15th, right?
Yeah, yeah. So whatever you put in there after EOI, you can make changes to after your school starts and you see that changes were made. You can change that prior to that 15th due date. But after that point, after you've submitted, then you really don't need to go in and edit the date or start and end times.
Okay.
Other questions?
Comments.
I'm trying to go through them too. I'm sorry, guys. Just two of us. Let's see.
Okay.
Walt can help with some of these.
Yep.
Let me know when he arrives, because I'm sure he'll
I will. I will. There's a LEA down, so he's trying to help them right now. But he said he'll be here as soon as he can.
Years and terms for program schools. Yes, that 7/1 date is fine, as well as the 6/30.
That was to Donna. Okay.
Andrew's asking if we can upgrade to the SQL 6. We can definitely check on that. There are some SQL reports also that we are looking to add as far as making some scheduling things easier for you guys. I've got to get with a couple of you and test some things. I think there's probably some SQL reports we can use to help with preparation of class size, legislative class size. But I can certainly get with our team and see how soon we can upgrade to 6, but I doubt it will be prior to EOI just because we have so many other priority items taking place. question about, this is our first year ending with Power Teacher Pro. Is there anything different that has to be done? I don't think there is.
There shouldn't be anything that you have to do. Yeah, just make sure your grades are in, and
make sure grades are in the grade book. Your grades are stored.
Walt is here, so I'm showing him questions right now. But yeah, there's nothing extra to do as far as it being your first year and then full year with Power Teacher Pro.
Yeah. So this is the second year for a lot of people because we had a cohort
right.
one.
Exactly.
Yeah. There is an Eddie question that Walter might can answer.
All right. The Eddie question, let's see. Give me one minute, you guys. There's a lot coming in. We're trying to. Who was that Eddie question from, Justin?
I think it's that one right there.
Well, I lost it. I think they just said that they got everything set up as far as a new grade level.
Oh, you're talking about Emily? Are we supposed to be able to enter new grade levels for schools now? If so, should it be done in the 1920 year in Power School? The area is grayed out.
No, what they need to do.
Speak up, Walt.
Okay, if you have a school that is getting a new grade level for next year, then you need to open a ticket to the support center, and we will have to go in and we have to turn off your North Carolina customization. So I have Michelle do it because she's in Texas and she can do it really, really early. So she gets on way before your school opens up, turns off customizations, and adds the grade level to the school where you're going to need it for next year, so that when you're doing the next grade level for your POI stuff, you'll be able to select it. Then after July 1st, you need to go into EDI and add the new grade level there, because EDI doesn't understand. If you go into EDI now and put it in there now, it's going to think you're adding the grade level for this school year, because it doesn't understand that it's next school year. So you just have to wait till after July 1st, after EDI is switched over, and then you'll go in and enter it in EDI, and you'll receive communications before we're going to turn the sync between EDI and Power School back on, and you'll definitely want to have those changes in EDI before we turn the sync back on, or when EDI comes back on, if the new grade level is not there, when it syncs with Power School, it will remove the grade level.
Okay. Does that help, Emily?
Yep.
Yeah, so they should open the ticket.
Right, and then.
And we'll add the grade level for them now, so they can schedule.
But y'all have to turn off.
Yeah, we do it after hours or before hours.
And you'll add the grade level, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Question on clearing the schedule setup page. Do we have to do that for each individual student, or is there a way to do it all at once? You could do it all at once through the.
Well, no, you don't clear the scheduling setup screen except when a kid is transferring from one LEA to another. Right. That's the only time you clear the scheduling setup screen. So that's only if you're transferring out. Otherwise, you should be going to the scheduling setup screen and making sure that their next grade level and their next school are set. And those you can query for from the start page and set in mass.
By updating the student field value. Yeah, I'm not sure, Tiffany, why that was part of the presentation last year. But Walter, before you got up there, we did question why there was a statement saying we might recommend that we clear scheduling setup for all, but I don't think that's necessary.
No, in fact, it should not be done. It should only be done if the kid is transferring to another LEA. Oh, no.
Okay, Emily, so that's good.
Okay. So while y'all finish going through those, I'll just summarize everything. So for those that joined late, again, we are going to collect the contacts from the EOI Contact page after this Friday. So please be sure that you have 2 different contacts with direct numbers, direct lines of how we can get in touch with you on that morning.
Yeah, and if you're going to be if you're going to be in the office at a phone extension,
Put it in the title.
yeah, put it in the title
That's what we told them.
because there's no field for it.
Right.
We're going to get Walt this field. When's your birthday, Walt?
Huh?
When's your birthday?
September 3rd.
Well, I don't know if we'll have it by then, maybe next year. So if issues are encountered, and you need help, then just put in a ticket with the support center. Yeah, Walt, do we still want to use, last year we asked them to use EOI pre-validation issue in the summary field so that we'd know as these tickets are coming in which ones are EOI related. So what's your preference?
I mean, if they in the short description, if they just put EOI issue or something like that, yeah, it'll let us know. We're going to do the same thing this year that we did last year. I'm going to be the one that, Lori's going to be running these reports. She'll be sending them to me. I'm going to look at them, and I'm going to, if we get a report that says who hasn't filled out that EOI contact screen, who hasn't filled out the EOI contact screen correctly, who hasn't, who has students that don't have next grade or next school set. And for all of them, I'm just going to contact the LEA and tell them, you need to do this. I won't do it for them unless they can't do it for some reason.
And we've already received our first set, right?
Yeah, we got our first set this week. The other big thing for people to remember is on that EOI contact screen, when you're putting in there your admin login, that's the admin login that's under security settings. When you go to security settings for the user and you go to the admin access tab, that's the admin login on that screen. It's not what's over on the information screen in the state PRID field or over on the teacher's affiliation screen. It's specifically what's on that admin access tab. And that's what the audit that Lori runs checks for. It compares what's on the EOI contact screen to that security settings screen, and if they don't match, it throws an error. Because if that's not right, the person won't be able to get in on that Saturday and run their EOI.
Okay. Yep, so that person that's listed as the primary contact is going to be the one responsible for running the EOI process on the 29th, as soon as we let you know that it's ready. And like I said, hopefully we can start earlier this year. I'm shooting for around 7 a.m. LEAs and charters are responsible for validating the process afterwards. And again, that checklist is in the EOI guide, and we will send that out also in the newsletter. Just a final reminder that everybody's going to be locked out on Friday the 28th, 5 o'clock. No one will be able to get back in, like Walt said, unless they are the contacts and they put the correct username in there. Only those folks will be able to get in. So we are putting primary and secondary contacts in, right? Well, or Power School actually does it.
Yeah, Power School is just basically we'll be giving, them a list from based on the EOI contact screen. So on Friday, they'll disable everybody access, and then on Saturday, they'll re-enable just the people on the EOI contact screen. And us, of course.
And for the new folks in the room, if this is your first time, then it wouldn't be a bad idea to get with the secondary person and at least show them how to navigate to this page in case you can't do it for some reason. Leave them documentation or whatever so that at least they know how to get there and push the button.
Because if it goes like last year, we'll be running audits on that Saturday that'll show us everyone who has completed it. And then when we get to a certain point, if we have ones that haven't run it yet, we'll begin calling people. And last year, Roz was even calling tech directors and
board members,
supervisors and board members and everybody else to find out why nobody had run their EOI yet. And then when it came down, push to shove, we would run it for them. And if there were any issues, we just fixed it so the kids went to the DPI FTE school and the person has to fix it when they come back.
Yeah, and I will say that was not, that's not an easy process for those that have to go back and move them out of the FTE school. So let's hope that doesn't have to happen this year. But we definitely don't want to have to call board members again.
I think last year we ended up with about half a dozen that we ended up having to do it because there was nobody there.
Other questions? I am going to share that tomorrow is the home base advisory meeting, and I'll be in Raleigh tomorrow for that meeting. And I think the same time we had our monthly update webinar scheduled, that's going to be the time I'm in the presentation with Power School. So we will be canceling tomorrow's webinar, but I am going to get a list of things out. Power School is supposed to send over today a list of everything that's going in to Power School this weekend. They're in maintenance. Nothing big. Trying to think of anything else that would have been shared on that webinar.
Laura Elliott, if you can hear me, I just got the text from Power School saying that your Power School has completed being restarted. If it's still not working, I'll be heading back downstairs in a minute.
Good news. Tiffany, do you have dates you want to share for, do we have anything firmed up for summer scheduling? I mean, training?
So, yes. It is not on the calendar yet. We are still, and Justin, you may need to speak to this, we're still working on summer conference dates for the end of July. And then there will be a new user training that also charters are invited to. That will be here at DPI on August 12th, 13th, and 14th, a 3-day for just new users. But we will, Justin's trying to work on a summer conference. We also do have home-based meetups, which will be August 5th through the 8th. We will be releasing those locations very soon. We are still in need of a location for a December home-based meetup, and I do believe that's in the Piedmont Triad, or it's one of the areas we're having a really hard time finding a location. I don't have it in front of me, I'm sorry, but it's a December. So we're just waiting to get that last location, but that was for home-based meetups. Otherwise, I think that's it for now. Francine, we don't have the exact dates for the Power School Summer Conference, correct, Justin? We are looking at the week of July 29th. 28th. Is that correct?
29th. Yeah. And so Roz and I talked this morning because Emily, it is going to have to be at Cape Fear Community College. And I think Emily has reserved the meeting rooms for us the entire week, that last week of July and first couple of days of August. I talked to Rosalind this morning, and she thinks because it's a new location, we probably shouldn't start first thing Monday. I think she wants us to be able to get time to let everybody travel down, make sure that we have everything set up and ready to go. So we're looking at probably Tuesday and Wednesday. And Emily, if you're on, I'm going to call you afterwards, but that's the 2 days we're going to shoot for.
Could you repeat those days again, Justin?
I think it'll be is that the 30th and 31st, Tuesday and Wednesday?
So, yes, the 30th and the 31st of July would be a Tuesday, Wednesday. And I will put those dates in the chat. That's why I was asking you, and it looks like Emily said, yes, give her a call. So I'm going to put those potential summer conference dates, and they will be in Wilmington, July 30th and 31st. And I'm putting those dates in the chat right now.
Yeah, we had checked on the Charlotte Microsoft Center location, but they just didn't have the meeting space we needed. So I know that's not going to be perfect for everybody, but hopefully we can get a lot of folks to join. I'm still working with Dan at Power School to figure out what kind of sessions we can offer, but I will say it's going to be more of, rather than 30, 45-minute presentations of bits and pieces of things, it's going to be 2 or 3 hour working sessions so that we can actually accomplish some things together while we're down there.
Talking about, Roz is joined. We're talking about the summer conference dates, and him and Emily's on the line too, and they're working with getting those dates ready to go. So they asked for potential dates.
Okay. So is the webinar over?
Nope, we're still on.
Okay.
Yep.
Hey,
We're on the questions, so
okay.
we're just trying to catch up with the questions
Hey, everybody.
and making sure I'm getting the dates correct. That's right.
Rosalind, do you have anything you want to share? Not necessarily EOI related, but because we're not going to be able to have the webinar tomorrow due to the advisory council or advisory meeting.
What webinar tomorrow?
It's for the.
So we're just sharing.
What time
We
is
have
the
them all
webinar
on here now.
3 o'clock.
3, and that's right when our Power School presentation is. But we actually have more folks on this webinar than we typically have on the update webinar. So if there's anything we need to share, I was trying to get that out now.
Oh gosh,
I shared the PreK webinar possibly coming up soon.
Yes.
Yeah, we've had some questions about that.
Kind of PreK.
The new discipline codes, I know several of you asked me about those. We've got that in the works. We're just waiting on confirmation as to when those need to be pushed out, whether they want those pushed out now or after EOI so that you have access to them for next school year. So those will go in by then.
So let me just kind of talk real high level about the PreK. And there was a presentation at the conference about the PreK. So the new ESSA requirements, there's some requirements in there for schools to report discipline incidents for PreK students. And I think the thought right now is to only start with public PreK students. So we're trying to get definition on what that means, because we know you've got different flavors of what those are. So I've been going back and forth with the PreK ladies, and they've been trying to get information out. I know they've been working with Amy on discipline codes because we got to add some PreK discipline codes because they have some specific things that have to be reported. So we're trying to get all those pieces together. But basically, so you've got your PreK centers, but you may have some students that are receiving services. some of you have set up some pre-K schools already, or they've been there for quite a while. You had them in NCY, some of you. But I'd say any kids that your principals have responsibility for that are on your campuses, you're going to need to set up schools for them. So we're just trying to make sure that we have all the information that Eddie is going to need, because these are going to be under 300. And some of you have had to report some of those. You've been working with it for the CRDC and over the years, but just kind of want to give you a heads up that some things are coming. It's going to be a work in progress. They've got to get a baseline starting in the next school year, and then the actual reporting, I think, doesn't start for another 3 years. But again, they've got to get the baseline in order to be able to report.
Thank you, Rose.
Also, during the last meetup, past couple actually, we've had a lot of discussions around EC scheduling. So I just wanted to share that we did have a meeting this week with different department heads, and we will be getting back together by the end of this month to kind of provide some more guidance on how you should be scheduling your EC students.
Hopefully before the end of the month, because we need to get this done. So I will say too, one of the takeaways that we have seen, and Justin, we need to put a communication together around this with class size. Folks, you have got to create different periods for your courses. You cannot combine courses into one expression.
Right. We've seen that will skew your numbers. And actually, this last go-around, we found that most of the tickets we submitted to Power School came back to be scheduling issues and not coding of the report. So we're definitely going to get some documentation together to help you work through that. And like I shared earlier, hopefully there'll be some SQL reports we can share that'll help you when it comes to scheduling, to make sure prior to the due date of these reports that you've made sure that the scheduling is set up correctly.
So I just say one of the other things that we're working on high level is reviewing some of the state reports, and I'll say specifically SAR, to see what is still needed and what is not needed. So we're hoping to bring you some relief with that thing, and that you may not have to do all those pieces. So, like, for example, we know class size is in the SAR, but the rules for that class size are not the same rules that we have for legislative class size. So we're trying to pull out things that aren't necessary, and then repackage it into what we actually need. So hopefully that's
woohoo. I'm not sure, Chris, what you're asking. We do not have periods. How do you recommend I set it up? We're referring to the expressions.
Yeah. Y'all clarify my words. So, for example, you can't have in one expression, you can't have math, social studies, and science in one expression.
Yeah, and that's intentional. So the way the report was built, it's looking at the expressions, and if the teacher has, if the teacher is assigned to multiple of the same expression, it's combining all of those students. So what we found is we've got, the way schedules are being done, we've got English and social studies and science all scheduled in second period. So it's taking that ELA teacher, but combining all of those students because it's in the same section. And that can't possibly be done. You can't be teaching those different courses during the same time.
And I'll say it's more elementary. Don't you think, Justin?
Definitely, yeah. Another thing we found with class size, and we're hoping to get away from using that period obsolete field, for 4th and 5th grade, I know we were helping populate K through 3, but what we found is if the 4th and 5th grade was blank, then it was treating that as a 0. The null would be a 0. Therefore, it was counting those as kindergarten students.
So there's a comment that we can teach at the same time, but you need different expressions.
Right.
The expressions need to be unique.
Even if those expressions are tied to the exact same buckets of time.
That's a don't use that bucket of time.
Bad phrase.
Yeah.
Yes, Beth. Can I unmute Beth Ross so that you can
Sure.
help? Let's see.
You got it, or do I need to?
I don't know if it's letting me. Oh, it does. There you go. Beth, can you ask your question while we have Ross?
Beth Davis or Beth Broadway?
Oops.
There's a couple Beths.
Wrong one. I'm trying to mute the other one. There we go. Sorry, Beth Davis.
Beth. Which one? Beth Broadway or Beth
Right.
Davis? There you go. Beth
Broadway.
Broadway.
Hey, Beth.
Hey, can you hear me?
We
Loud
can.
and clear.
Okay. They are trying to open a new school in 2 years that will be a special program for basically like welding and that stuff, and there will only be about 20 students. They want to pilot it this coming year. Would like to run the early college calendar, but I don't know how we can do that and still keep them at their home schools, which will be traditional.
Okay, so let me repeat it back. So you're going to open a special school in a couple of years, but you want to try it out beforehand.
Correct.
Accountability is going to have a cow. I used to tell you.
Yep.
We had a district that did that this year, and they about had a cow. No, they didn't about have a cow. They did have a cow.
Okay.
So do you have a school number?
No, we do not have a school number. So what I'm pushing for is that they go ahead and get a school number and open it, and then if they get permission for the special program, just change the name the following year.
So the way Eddie works is only works on schools that are currently open for that are only active for that current year. So if that school's not active for that year, then you're still gonna have a problem.
Okay. But can we not make it active for the year and just not and pretend it's a regular school?
No, because the systems here can't distinguish.
Okay.
All it knows is that it's active. It doesn't know that you're piloting. It could be, and so if it's a future school, then it's not gonna show up as a valid school, so we wouldn't collect it.
Okay. But if
so the question is, can you have it set as a future school, and then so where are those kids?
The kids will be at this future location and taking their classes. Yes, but they will still be enrolled at their home school, which is a traditional school. That's what my reaction was.
So is they coming to my meeting tomorrow?
I think Jay's coming, yes.
Okay, tell him to grab me.
Okay.
And we can actually go down and see school business and see if we can kind of explain.
Okay.
So that's the thing. Power School will allow you to do lots of things, but so there are accountability systems, financial systems that depend on whatever is approved and accurate for the current year.
Okay.
So that might be problematic. And I just know we had an issue, and accountability about flip their lids because they weren't aware that things were being done. So when they started pulling the data, it didn't look right, and the kids weren't showing up in the right places.
Okay, I will tell Jay.
And I would also bring your accountability, your RAC into the conversation just to make sure they have awareness of what you're thinking.
Yeah.
Just in case something happens and then they see something that's a blip on their radar, they have an awareness.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you very much.
Justin, can we offer some clarity on version 12 and 19.4?
Yeah, I was just reading that question.
It's the same.
19.4. So they changed the way they label the versions. Right. So they've switched it from going from 11 to 11.03 to 0.4. It's now based off of, so the 19 is 2019. The 4 is the April release, the 4th month, and that's how they're going to do it from here on. So we've been saying we're upgrading to version 12 because that's what you all are used to, but we need to start using the actual version. So yeah, 19.4 is what we're moving to, but that is version 12.
There was some confusion on that as far as when we were upgrading and what we were upgrading to. So I just want to make sure everybody was understanding that. Anything need to be done to clean up contacts before the move to version 12 or 19.4? Anything need to be done prior to?
Yes, and we're working with we've got a small team of coordinators who are joining us on our weekly upgrade calls. I'm hoping, for those who are in that group, I'm hoping next week, and I know I shared this, since I'm going to be on site in Raleigh, maybe we can schedule some time then. So I'm going to reach out to you. But we're working on how to deliver that or get directions together and help all the districts clean up their contacts. So that will be coming.
So let's just clarify one thing. So the custom contacts that North Carolina put together are not migrating so the migration itself is going to happen regardless. We can't stop the migration. It happens as a byproduct of the upgrade. And the North Carolina custom contacts aren't part of the migration because it sits outside of the core application. So Justin and the team are working on strategies to help you get ready so that you can be best prepared. And we've been following a lot of conversation across all of the PowerSchool customers. You're not going to get it right to start with, so don't panic about that. So we're just trying to give you some strategies so you can be ready. It's going to create work that has to be cleaned up, but we're just going to try to help minimize the amount of work. So I just kind of want to level set the expectation. Everybody remain calm.
She was asking if there's new information on the HR report that's due in June. Is that the infield, out of field? Is that what we're referring to there?
And let's see if we can get some information from Tom. So I know we were trying to schedule some time to work through with a couple of districts what the reports look like. I know that, so Tom Tomberlin is the business owner from DPI. He's looked at the reports and he seems to be okay with what they look like. So again, this replaces our highly qualified reports. I don't know there for a while. There was no data populating and PowerSchool was trying to load that data. Let me get Melody to confirm that all the data has been loaded. But what I would suggest to you is to pull together in your district to look at that. You're not going to have all the answers to that data yourself. So you're going to need folks from your HR, from PowerSchool, possibly payroll, but you need to pull together a small team to review that information.
Sorry, guys, we're reading some stuff, so if you'll just give us a minute.
Rosalind, PowerSchool had a webinar on modules offered with new contacts. Will North Carolina have those when our contract renews?
So they had a webinar on modules, like level data, et cetera, offered with new
Contracts.
Contracts.
We'll not have those when our contract renews.
We will not. So what we put in a request to the General Assembly to add money for that. It has, well, the budget process is still going on. I have seen, so they've got out 2 budgets. The governor put out a budget and the House put out a budget. My request was in the governor's budget. It was not in the House budget. We're waiting on the Senate budget. I'm not hopeful that it's going to be there. So, yeah, I'm not hopeful.
Rosalind, there was a question asked here. I'm sorry.
I was going to say that I guess the only, if your superintendents raise those things up through leadership here, that's something that you want and need, that would help.
There's a question in here also about removing contacts before or after EOI, and I think that's something we discussed during our weekly call, but for the smaller districts that want to start from scratch, do we have a problem allowing them?
I want to talk through with the Power School folks on our next EOI call, not EOI, upgrade call.
Upgrade.
So the question is, do we need to create calendars prior to EOI for next year? No, you don't. And thank you all for doing that last year. I know it caused some issues and some things we didn't anticipate, but you don't need to create those going forward.
Well, they have to create yours in term.
Right.
Well, the normal.
Create the calendar, but they don't have to go in and set it up.
Yeah, you don't have to go set it up. Correct.
You do not have
so the normal things that you were doing prior to last year, because we did that for ECAT, you don't have to do those things.
If we create the calendar, will it stay in there after EOI?
So the question is, do we have any guidance on the new gender code set? All I can say at this point is we have 2 genders.
Yeah. And we did check with Rayanne with Power School on our last call, and it sounds like that's not going to be something we're going to be able to hide or lock out. But we'll provide guidance on, what can be used and can't be used. But right now we're looking at using exactly what we have now.
So do we still need to include Saturday and Sunday on the calendar?
Yes.
Yes. And I would say too, make sure that you do your numbering correctly, because I've seen some really strange things this year. For example, and you all correct me because I'm not in it every day like you all are, but I saw where the in-session days, aren't they consecutive, so that you've got a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you got a holiday, and then it starts renumbering again? Is that the way it's supposed to be?
Renumbering what?
Not well, depending on your cycle. So if you got a 1-day calendar or a 5-day calendar, say you got a 5-day calendar, so it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yeah, it does a straight rotation. It doesn't care if holiday was F day, it's not going to move F day to Monday.
Well, see, that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing people move those things. So we probably need to send out some refresher documentation, and it hasn't changed. So I think it's the fact that we've got lots of new people that aren't familiar with how to set up the calendar. And
yeah, because if you use the really nice feature of it, doing all that work for you, it will just populate all that for you just based on what you put on the entry screen. It'll go through and set all that up, and then you just got to go put in your specific holidays and teacher work days and that kind of thing.
Will information be sent out about what Roz is speaking about? Which one, Nicole?
Everything.
So concerning the preschool, yes. I'm not, okay.
And remember, this is being recorded. We will post this.
I can answer Sherry's question. And this came up earlier too, and I answered it. But as far as the contacts page that you'll see after the upgrade, it'll still be the North Carolina contacts page.
Yes.
So we're going to hide the course contacts. Yep.
Oh.
Sheila, on the QRD for infield, out of field, that's something I've asked Tom's group to kind of help us put together some documentation to share out. So something will be coming.
Yes.
And that's really more of a tool. I mean, it's a report, but it's also a tool to help you all when scheduling and help your principals see what kind of staff members they're attaching to sections. So it's going to be a tool that you can use throughout the year while scheduling.
So great question. So Justin, we need to get some communication out about the grade scale and the alpha and the numeric type.
Yeah.
Yeah, we learned a lot about that the hard way.
Did they need to convert back
So
before EOI, prior to?
Not before EOI, because you got grades tied to them. You
Right.
need to do it after. You need to do it as part of your beginning year setup.
And I'm sure some, and there's a lot of LEAs in this predicament. They didn't change mid-year, and they plan to change over the summer.
Yeah, you can go ahead and create the scale and have it attached, especially if you're going to commit your schedule prior to EOI.
Next year.
Then the new grade scale needs to be attached. Yeah, for next year.
For next year. Don't attach it to anything for this year.
Correct.
Correct. Yeah.
And don't modify the existing grade scale.
Yeah.
Create a new one.
Right. You got to create the new one.
So I think we need to get some more clear information out, because there is a specific instance when you should use the numeric type 10-point scale. And if you're using standards-based grading, you should be doing something different. So we need to get some very specific information out concerning that. Oh, the piece about, okay, so we do need to get a QRD for the infield, out of field, and in that QRD, we will mention too that you need to form a small group within your LEA to review this information. So I'll work with Tom, or get Melody to work with Tom to get that QRD together. So if you don't use the grade book, do the grade scales need to be done? Yes, because you still have to give grades.
Susan, we're going to be working on some specific documentation regarding the grade scale.
I don't get to join you all that much anymore. This is fun.
So we need to offer some clarification about the creating a new grade scale.
Yeah.
If they were in the PT Pro cohort 1. Go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, let us get.
Yeah, we've shared this several times. If you already have it, there's no need to create a new one.
Yes.
So most of the folks that'll be creating a new one are the folks who never, either like the new schools or people that didn't have it last year. Right.
So Nicole's thing was, did she miss anything about the initial thing about the infield, out of field? I think we just sent out something saying it is out there. We talked about it quite a long time ago. Our original design was to have that for you so you could run it all year. And then the window to run it was supposed to be like mid-April to like the last week in June, so that you could get it approved before EOI. So again, let me get with Tom and the group to get some information out. And actually, he talks with the HR folks quite a bit. So let me get with him and just get something out to you, to them and to you guys. Okay, so some action items for us. We need to send out some communications around and some clarifications around the preschool, the pre-K babies. We need to update the EOI guide. We need to send information about infill, out of field, the grade scale. Who's taking all these action items down?
I think I had already started on the
Okay.
grade scale, so I had already had something prepared for that.
More communication,
About the
a
contact.
plan about the upgrade and upgrade, and that'll cover contacts, because upgrade has many more things to it.
And communication about summer conference, because I've had quite a few people asking about that, and I know
Okay.
Emily and Justin are working on that now. Anything else, you guys? These are all great questions. We do have some follow-up to do.
Yeah, and as in regards to EOI, we're going to have a couple more webinars for those that didn't join in the beginning. We'll have some Q&A webinars where we can allow you all to get on and us help you work through any issues. Those dates will come out probably for Friday in the Friday newsletter.
Yes. I've put some proposed dates out there, and we're just making sure our team can meet. But yes, they'll be in June.
Rosalind, do you have any new updates on the Power School support that we can share now, or nothing new?
So we actually need to, if you have not updated your EOI contact information in Power School, please do that. We need to provide Power School with some information about who the lead contacts will be in your LEAs. So we need the lead and a backup. So we need that for EOI and for the support that's coming. There is that we are working on, so when I talked to Dan, what I asked was, they want you all to get certified. A lot of you the certification is not hard. If you've been working in Power School for quite a while, you will probably be fine. I asked for a review webinar to go over the things that will be covered in that certification. It's an open book. So it's an open book. So take notes. And I think a lot of it's just the basic things: how to enroll kids, how to transfer kids. And I think we've got the agenda for the IPT. It may have changed slightly over time, but I would not stress about it. We're covering the cost of the first iteration of the testing, and then I don't know that we've come to all the agreements on if you don't pass, but I'm not worried about the not passing piece. If you feel like after going through that review webinar, you feel like you're okay and you want to go ahead and take the test, you can. I think for those that have already gone to PSU and you may have been on one of the tracks, You may have already done it. So if you've already done that, you're fine. But we're still trying to formulate those pieces. But the first step is to identify who the people are going to be that are going to be able to submit tickets to Power School. So if you complete your EOI contact information, that's the first step in helping us to get you there.
Roz, I was taking some notes. Did you discuss money, or I know there's some confusion around training? Okay.
Yep.
And whether or not that'll cost.
And you know me, I'm going to be brutally honest. I think what I was hearing was option 3 that was being presented to some districts. That is not the option that we chose. We specifically chose some hoping to be as cost effective as possible, so that you wouldn't have to incur cost. So DPI is covering the first round of the testing, and what we were, so I think there were 4 proposals: a regional, a virtual, and 2 others. So we were looking at doing 2 regionals 2 sessions per region, and then 2 at DPI. And I think we were also looking at some virtuals.
That would be the training piece, right?
The
IPT.
The IPT.
IPT
yes,
training.
the IPT training.
Yeah,
yes. But let us finalize those last pieces, and we can get you more definitive information.
No, Jane, you probably wouldn't have received anything yet about test options.
No, we've not finished. So you shouldn't have anything about test options. We've not given anybody anything.
Right.
Okay. So Justin, you asked them to enter tech contacts into the PowerPoint. I would rather than put them into Power School in the tech contacts area. That way we've got it in one place for everybody. So let's get that out in the newsletter this afternoon.
Okay. Yeah, during the meetups, I had a link to a technical contacts spreadsheet that each district was filling out. Because I didn't know if the EOI contacts would be the same people who would be submitting tickets.
Who's their technical contact and who's running EOI might be different, because they might be, somebody might be on vacation and the backup's running it or whatever.
I'm doing that. Same. That's where I'm gonna pull it from. They could be this as a backup if somebody else is gonna run it, but they would be the backup too, and they can change it. The thing is, it's just an initial pull, and then if you need to update it, you can. No stress, no biggie.
Katrina, to answer your question.
So let's get more information about the testing and stuff. So wait until you hear from us.
Right.
Don't stress. Be calm.
We're
Don't
calm.
panic.
Are you calm? I'm calm.
Francine does have a good question, and Dan did mention this. For those who have taken the IPT test and passed, Dan is saying that they're going to be able to go back and look at transcripts and pull that. So if you've already tested out, then you should be fine.
So let's be clear. Let's confirm how far back they're talking.
Yeah.
I need to be very clear and get a very firm response from Power School. Because I'm not sure they're going to go back and honor a 6-year certification when things have changed so much. Now, granted, again, if you've been doing this for 6 years,
you would have no problem.
You're not going to have any problems.
Right.
You're not. Not at this moment. Not right now. Not right now. So Angeline, the answer is you run your own EOI. Everybody does their own EOI. Okay. More questions?
Yeah,
So
that's part of
yeah,
the
that's
upgrade.
part. So Kimberly, that's part of the upgrade.
Yep.
So we got you covered.
Yep.
So the question was, can you add to the action items about student contacts? So that's part of the upgrade. So we'll cover it there.
Looks like the remaining questions are all on our action item list.
It'll come out with the information.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
We good?
I think so.
So IPT, initial
Product training.
Yep. I know all these acronyms. Sorry about that.
Good question, Ginger. Thanks for that.
Mm-hmm.
We tend to take for granted everybody knows that, but thanks. So for those that were here way back when, that's when we did the 5-day thing, and everybody came around, and we had all that fun for 5 days. Oh, Justin, did you cover the final transcripts?
Yeah, we talked about that.
Okay. The question was any GDV info? Couple of things. And I think we need to put this in the bulletin as well. We need to make sure that everybody remembers to run both weighted and unweighted GPAs. Everybody. Everybody. Did I say everybody?
I think you did.
Okay.
Right, you mean everybody?
So Ginger, so you've got, so colleges are asking that the graduation date be on our transcript. Can you tell me which, can you send an email with which colleges are asking that? We're having very detailed discussions with CFNC about this whole process. I wanted to go back to Tammy. Any GDV info. Make sure you run your initial GDV before EOI, because the final looks at other data. And I know our accountability folks depend on you to run that initial one, because it gives him information that he uses, I think, outside of us for the accountability needs for GDV. And then you run your post after EOI. But please make sure you run your initial one before EOI. I don't have anything else I can think of. We must do this again.
We will. We have 2 Q&A webinars going in June. June. It is
June. Can't wait till July.
I know. Sorry. Putting the cart before the horse. And we'll
I think
have
we're good. We'll work to get some of this guidance put together to get out to you guys.
Yep. And it might be a good idea to have Yolanda sitting in on this in case we talk about things that need to go in the bulletin. That way she can hear them.
Okay.
I'm good. I'm done, Justin.
Okay, thanks. All right. We had a good crowd, hour and a half. That was good. Emily, I'll be calling you about the summer conference, and then I'll be communicating out to the rest of you. So thank you all for joining. Look for the next 2 webinar dates to come out Friday, and I'll share them out as well. Thanks, DPI folks also.
Okay.
Home-based bulletin. Yes, and the information, the newsletter that Rosalind was just speaking of, it's the weekly home-based bulletin. Every Friday.
Yes, so if you're not getting those, you're missing some good information.
All right. Well, thank you guys for your time. You've been a great audience, great questions. We have some follow-up to do, and we will talk to you soon. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.